It was a muggy late summer day on Estudillo Avenue, the Indian summer, casting a dewy mist that clung to all like a warm blanket. This on top of the coats and blouses being worn by the mourners. For you see, it was a funeral. As the pallbearers took the deceased out of the grand wooden door and down the pale steps, a horse-drawn buggy waited for them. The mourners followed the coffin out. The mugginess of the churches inside made the heat of the San Franciscan sun become a cooling mist for them. Saint Leander of Seville, whose namesake the church held, had been the one to bring Spain into Christendom, and the town the church sat in looked like it could be Seville's American cousin, with its wide streets and Spanish airs. None had been particularly close with the man. Samuel Ironsworth had been the owner of a bank in the city by Pioneer Park. 1895 has seen turbulent times for such a trade, but Samuel had been quite comfortable until now. That is how he made friends with all of these people. He'd been a kind of Emperor Norton to them, except their attention was not given out of charms, but because Samuel in some way funded their living. Then the stocks came plummeting down, and the crowds rushed in like a tidal wave to demand their money. Ironsworth was ruined. He'd have probably put a gun to his head that night if that horse on Haight Street hadn't trampled him. Now the bank was of little issue to him, and he was being followed out by a mellower wave of black lace and wool coats as little birds tweeted, and the orange hue of the sun grew longer in the sky. Some of the ladies cried when his coach was taken away, and some of them genuinely meant it. Now the mourners assembled and roamed like black sheep to the nearest establishment that could contain them, content to dine on pastries and coffee like the French. Now let us mingle and see if we can spy some of the companions we will follow until this story ends. Ah, see there. Humphrey, an older businessman who knew Samuel, Humphrey's younger friend, and a mutual acquaintance of Samuel named Victor. They stand in active debate, as all learned men do with their friends, deaf to the chatter all around them.
Now, I don't understand why you young men are so ashamed to be taken care of or loved now.
How do you mean that? That's a rather bold assertion, wouldn't you say?
A bold assertion that I am content to follow to its conclusion. Young man, I hear constant talk from other young men your age about the topic of ladies. And while in my youth we talked about ladies as well, it was often to express our fondness of one or more. Now, however, it seems that young men treat such fondness as mere sentimentality, folly in a way. They rudely poke each other in the ribs and say, "You are getting fat," as though this was something to be hated. In my day, to be fat was a luxury most could not afford. Now you young men want to stay mean and lean. I think it is why young men hate women now, because only when a woman is there to care for him and attend to his eating and health is a man able to become fat. So they hate women to stay skinny.
Now, isn't that rather preposterous, you old goat? I think it has more to do with matters of taste and the pragmatics of it all. A woman quickly becomes a chore, and all a guy really wants to do is explore all of his own ends. Once a man is married, he can say goodbye to any new prospective friends. Look at our dear friend Samuel. Left no woman to cry and bereave him, and his friends are so numerous that they spill out onto the walkways. If Samuel hadn't been so free from a woman to shackle him, he wouldn't have had the time to be worth talking to, and I wouldn't have even considered coming all the way out to the town just to sit in a dusty church for hours just to see him off.
You say that, young man, but who do you expect to care for you? Certainly not other young men. I smell the aftershave daubed all along your collar, but I see the forgotten stubble on your jaw. I see your dark, circled eyes, and I'm not foolishly unaware of your late hours, nor the excess with which you party lately, and quite good that you do. If I were blessed with the inheritance you are trusted to, I would live in such a way most definitely. Yet I worry you are running out of time to enjoy, and you will soon be one of those dreadful frail old men who lower about at the libraries and cafeterias, too old to sway even the most precocious old lady, and too self-centered to court an elderly widow. They say that ladies are a window into the soul of their man, and what is life in a room with no windows, only a revolving door like the ones they have in New York City?
Well met, old man. I suppose you have a good point. I just haven't met a lady worth keeping around, I suppose. I find I start liking a lady and really thinking she's swell, but eventually I can't look at her. Something changes, and she stops being the beautiful young thing that I met only a few nights earlier. Now she's so mean and ugly. What else can I do but raise my standards and wait? Don't fear, old man. I won't be one of those skinny old men. I just need a good time and opportunity is all.
What better time than now? What better opportunity than the one patiently arriving at your door? Look around, young man. There are ladies all around, and now is a time of mourning. Ladies line themselves up for you to court, and you are sat here snoring. You make excuses to cover up your lack of nerve, I am afraid.
Now that is a dirty lie, old man. I could just as easily find an amorous encounter or a romantic getaway as you could with any girl, if not more easily. You invent poppycock with the intention of provoking me into some jest, I suspect.
Yes, my boy, I will admit to such a plot. Look there at that girl.
Humphrey points out a girl in the crowd, a mestizo Mexican woman around Victor's age. She was gathered in a circle of other young ladies, discussing novels from Europe. She had a rather severe expression on her fine brows, her sharp nose scrunched up in focus.
I know in my mind and loving heart that she would make you into a caring and loyal husband. See the determination in her eyes as she speaks. I bet you an amount of dollars backed in fine silver that we may discuss later, that you could not catch her attention if you tried. For you believe yourself to be a playboy, a real go-getter of gazes from lovesick girls. But that girl, she would see right through you.
No. Not because I couldn't. She's just not my type. Something about her face.
What's wrong with her face? She has a perfectly natural face, does she not?
I don't agree. I think it's actually rather funny.
Funny? Funny? In what way?
No way in particular, it's just funny.
This is the problem with young men. You invent reasons to save yourself the embarrassment of rejection. There before us is a real woman, a flesh and blood, authentic body, and you are content to assess her like a painting on display. Are you sure you would not be content with imaginations of the newspaper comics? Certainly their faces are quite symmetrical and well proportioned.
No, you old fool, that's not what I meant. I just... Fine. What's your wager again? Do you want me to talk to her now? In the midst of all of these people? I'll surely be drowned out by the crowd. Leave her unimpressed, and you'll get your silver certificates mailed to you.
No, my dear boy, I didn't finish my wager. I was going to say, that girl is a letter writer at my firm in the city. Her name is Maria Isabel Santa Clara. First thing tomorrow you must come by my office on a premise I will invent, and I will arrange for you to stumble across her by chance. Then you will introduce yourself and say you remember her from the funeral. What you do after is at your discretion and towards what you think will sway her to you. If you succeed in courting her and obtain some item of her affection the way a lover might, I will call off the bet and give you your money and you will be free to break off any further engagements with her. However, should you fail, and you will, you must learn to love and settle for the next young lady who blesses you with her attention.
You've been thinking too much, old man. This whole enterprise is absurd. But just to show you that my word is law, and to verify my prowess, I will take your wager. Tomorrow I will stop by your firm and charm this Maria Isabel Santa Clara. Take my hand and shake on it, and arrange to find a new banker. You will soon need to have money sent to me.
Each man firmly grasped the other's hand and jostled the other's arm about, capital and pride on their minds, no longer thinking about Samuel. As the coffin left the hearse, and earth piled on top of its lid, and the dark cold of night sucked the warmth out of the soil, the mourners left the establishment and split into groups, some going home and others going out to have coffee and cigars. Now we're walking up the winding avenue as coaches trot down beside us. It's late in the morning, and the fog has started to crawl back to where it came from. We followed some of the other funeral goers here after they woke up bright and early. Vincent and his grandmother Bernice. Bernice is French. Although unlike the French minds of Paris that San Franciscans eagerly imitated, Bernice was from the countryside, where values were simpler and more sincere. Bernice was also, as it happens, Humphrey's bride of about 4 years.
Grandma, why are we walking all the way to Mr. Humphrey's office? We should have paid a coach to take us.
And right, one of those things that put an end to dear Mr. Samuel's life, so soon after we said our farewells to him. My dear, it is far too soon. The Lord will record our hardships, my dear boy. He'll see that, in the honor of a fellow Catholic, we deprive ourselves.
But Grandma, my feet are so sore from all this walking. Couldn't we rest a moment or stop at one of these bakeries?
So you can gluttonously sample slices of cake and sumptuously sip coffee? I think not, my beloved grandson. I cannot bear to think you have become one who sits idly and shoves sweets into your mouth. Does my daughter not feed you at home?
Mother feeds me, fine, Grandma. And I'm not asking just to get sweets. I'm tired. Maybe in your youth it was normal to walk for miles every day. But times are changing. Now we have cable cars, and in other cities there are subways. And why does the hill have to be so steep? We could find a smoother incline to walk on, surely. Or better yet, you could just wait to see Mr. Humphrey until he gets home.
Vincent, don't try so hard to find fault in your poor grandmother. I only wanted to go with you because I hadn't spent time with you in so long. We can stop and wait a while if you'd like.
As they continue walking, now searching for a place to rest, Vincent has his hands in his vest pockets and eyes away from the path ahead. As Vincent stumbles forward blindly, he brushes against a sailor from Cebu, who turns slightly to make an apology. Vincent shrinks away from the man, mistaking manners for attempted robbery.
Grandma, did you see that? A coolie just bumped into me. I didn't know there were coolies in San Francisco. There certainly aren't any in Alameda.
What did you just say, boy? That is no respectful way to talk about another. We do not call others among God's children coolies. Which man was this? Point him out to me at once.
Vincent shrinks down like a budding flower in an unexpected frost. Wishing he had said nothing, he points out the man slowly growing distant. Though she's quite old, Bernice catches up to him in an instant, tugging on his coat sleeve. The man turns around in surprise, smiling nonetheless at Bernice.
Sir, I am so terribly sorry to bother you, but my grandson has just said the most insolent thing about you. I would like you to know, so that you may admonish him, and he may learn not to say such things. Now, Vincent, tell the man what you said to me.
Vincent shrinks even further as the dark-eyed man holds his patient smile, gazing into Vincent as though he were able to see the vital essence of Vincent's soul.
I was amazed to have bumped into you, so I told my grandma Bernice. Well, look, there a coolie bumped into me. I implore you to accept my apologies.
Bernice nods stiffly, satisfied at the justice she has made Vincent endure. The man takes Bernice's hand and bows his head into it, turning to Vincent and begins to speak.
Why, thank you, young master, for that earnest apology. I must advise you to observe that I am not a coolie. However, my father was a Frenchman, and I am from Cebu.
Despite that city noise that drones on around us, Bernice perks up at the mention of France.
French? I am French. Where in France was your father from, dear sir? Pardon my excitement. I did not expect this.
Oh, I believe he was from Avignon, though he left with his parents at a young age to come to Manila. His father was a teacher, though now he is sadly passed. My father moved to Cebu and met my mother there. I must confess that I have not dwelled long in France. I am a merchant marine. That's the only reason I've ever been there.
The man spoke like he was educated in Europe, which of course he was, and Bernice eagerly takes him by his arm.
Sir, I insist you join us for coffee or some cake, so you may tell us all about your parents and profession. I will not accept any answer, but yes, and if you say otherwise, I will have nothing to do but to cry to my Vincent here. Now, sir, what was your name?
Pedro, madame. Juan Pedro de la Cruz Bull. It would be my pleasure to accompany you two, because before you stopped me, I was walking around aimlessly with no mind of what to do.
Grandma, didn't you want to go and see Mr. Humphrey? If we keep walking, we'll get there soon, I'm sure. Let's not trouble the man anymore.
Vincent, it's rude to change plans after the guest has confirmed. Has my daughter not taught you manners? And in any case, I'd rather arrive a bit late now that I consider it. The other day, I arrived before that dreadful secretary left on her lunch. And she was, how you say, an irate bitch. Now, let us find a cafe to dwell in.
The two, now three, pass along the boulevard until they find a suitably quiet venue to end their journey at. Just as the morning bustle dies down into the afternoon lull. Now we must leave the three to their stroll and walk ahead of them up Market Street to where Montgomery intersects with Sutter near the east of the peninsula. 40 Montgomery Street, a large white building in which we will find Humphrey's firm. Here in the firm there are many office workers, secretaries, and letter writers. Victor has not arrived yet, and Humphrey is in his office, visiting with a friend named George. George is from a nowhere town down in Orange Country called Riverside, known only for a boarding house called Glenwood Cottage, which was styled to look like the Spanish missions that dot the California landscape. Rather like the cottage, George has tried to style himself in the like of a Spaniard. Rather badly, it must be sad. Though he is an Englishman, and it does not suit him, George wears the kind of macho borracho beard that Spanish men wear in Panama under straw fedoras. The kind of beard that requires one to visit a barber regularly to maintain its crispness. George as well wears a crucifix on a golden chain outside his jacket. Another habit learned from the Spanish and Mexican men he has come to know in Riverside.
George, take that wretched thing off. You were not born to an Anglican family just so you could grow up to flaunt the cross like one of the Borgias. It's bad enough you feel the need to wear such an atrocious beard that makes you look like a Greek bust of Plato.
George meekly takes off the crucifix and places it on the desk. Too self-aware to defend his Spanish fashion the way a true Spaniard would.
My apologies, Humphrey. I wasn't thinking it was a big deal, and anyways, I wanted to look sharp for my first time up north. This city is marvellous.
Is it? Sorry, my friend, I haven't quite stayed enchanted with the city the way you are. It seems like ever since gold was discovered and the city became wealthy overnight, nobody knows what to do with the wealth. Now businesses begin advertising on banners tied up over the street, put there to be easily seen by those in the cable carts. And what dreadful tidings that bears on life for our children. Soon one will scarcely be able to glance up and around without seeing an advertisement for Tillman's soap and Goffman's elixirs. And the thought that makes me sicker is how the newly rich spoil high society with their ostentatious displays. Rather like that cross, I must say.
Oh, is it really so bad, Humphrey? I say that, coming from the country, this city is simply incredible. I have never seen so many of all different races and creeds. So many of the poor here are educated. In fact, just after arriving yesterday, I was fortunate to be introduced to a shoe shiner who was a kind of undiscovered genius. He showed me a great many deals of schematics and explained them to me in detail, saying that for $1 he would be able to start production and bring his knowledge to help all. So of course I gave it to him, and I am pleased knowing that I have helped humanity for no return to myself.
You blasted idiot, that was no inventor. You've been tricked by a common vagrant. That dollar was as good to humanity as though you had burned it up, which is no doubt what will happen to the opium the shoe shiner bought with your foolish charity.
No, this can't be. I was there, Humphrey. I saw the schematics. He had prototypes, and...
George, my old friend, those prototypes are non-existent and the schematics will be whisked away like fog in the wind. You will never see that man again. I fear the education we attained back east has done you little benefit.
Oh, well, that is my rotten luck, isn't it? Well, what is there on the docket today? Will you be joining me as I tour the town?
City, George. You call it the city, not the town. The town is elsewhere.
Ah, yes, why thank you. Will you accompany me on my safari of the city sights?
No, I'm afraid, my friend, I am actually rather busy today. In addition to the regular work I'm accustomed to, I have also a lengthy appointment with an important party. I have as well a young friend who is coming to visit me sometime soon. We are having a bit of a wager, you see. It's simply too many details to trouble you with, but I shall try to meet you again before you leave the city back to Riverside. Perhaps me and my Bernice will join you at the pier for oysters.
Ah, yes, I suppose the lengthy appointment is referring to the lovely Bernice.
Humphrey twitches a smile, as if rehearsed.
Why, yes, that's precisely the nature of it.
Before George can respond, Humphrey's loud-voiced secretary opens the door and announces the arrival of Victor.
Mr. Humphrey, your friend Victor is here to see you. Shall I send him in or ask him to wait?
Oh, send him in, will you, dear? Me and your employer were just wrapping up. I shan't be in here much longer.
Elise the secretary looks at Mr. Humphrey with a hesitant expression, as though waiting on his command. Humphrey smiles and nods. Elise, ever the expectant secretary, takes George out as Victor comes in the door. George and Victor brush past one another rather awkwardly, unsure as to who should defer to the other. For George is older and respectable, yet Victor is fabulously wealthy. Old wealth, it should be said. So each of the two made terse acknowledgments to the other. Now Victor is in the room and closes the door behind him.
Well, I'm here. I thought about calling this whole affair off by telegram, but I know you'd hold it over me for years to come, and I don't wish to find a new friend.
Splendid choice, Victor. Now the games can begin. I must ask you, however, to make this visit brief, as I am soon to expect an important appointment that I cannot miss.
You're still having an affair with that girl who brought me in.
Why, yes, I am. Do I detect concern in your voice?
No, not for me of all people. I've no care as to whether you find your comfort at home or at the office, so long as you find it. I just don't understand what entices you about her. She's rather loud and harsh, don't you think?
Oh, not to me, Victor, not to me. And besides, if Bernice were not so reserved about affection and stuck in her peasant ways, I wouldn't have to look outside our bond of matrimony. One finds that when one cannot have a single beloved as the ideal, one looks outwardly and finds 2, then 3, then 4.
Certainly not in the office, I hope. Or were you hoping to expand into bordello operations?
A great har-har is in order for your cleverness, Victor. And no, of course not. I only speak in wisdom sayings. Besides Elise, I have no other lovers.
Victor begins to fret about how he will make his introductions to Maria when he sees the crucifix on the desk.
I never imagined you were the type to have such a thing.
I'm not. My friend George that you just met left it here. Why does it interest you?
Oh, I was thinking I might use it to introduce myself to your letter writer. Where might I find her?
She's in the large shared office down the hall. Take the cross, please. Its presence revolts me. The gold is quite cheap. I quite agree with some of the Turks I have met that men should not ever wear gold. Only silver. It draws attention like a woman's item.
Well, I'll be careful to get silver fillings for my teeth in the event I develop a cavity. Tin. I'll go now, Humphrey, and may your day be filled with ease.
You too, my friend.
Victor takes the cross and chain off of the table and pockets it, leaving out the door. The secretary comes in the door as he walks down the hall.
Mr. Humphrey, are you free now?
Yes, my dear, come closer to me.
Elise walks over to the large padded leather chair that Humphrey is sitting in, laying back into his arms and kissing his jaw.
Humphrey?
Yes, my dear.
Will you be leaving your wife for me? I'm tired of all of this hiding around and pretending. I could be your wife if you'd let me.
Oh, my dear, you are still too young to be asking me to do that. Let this be a class for you that teaches you the ways of love, so that when you meet a nice college lad, you will not be frigid or difficult for him.
Elise is not happy with this response, but she makes play as though she is anyways, since it's what Humphrey would want. Now we follow Victor down a long carpeted hallway and into a large room filled with desks. Most of the faces in the room belong to women, although there are a few men. At each desk sits a woman writing letters for the firm to other firms, as they do every day. The men sit at the telegraph, sending messages over line all over the country. Victor sees Maria at her desk, taking a break to read a book. He notices her sharp gaze on the pages.
Stare at it harder and you'll have confetti. Ha ha.
Maria continues to read her book, as though Victor's joke had been nothing but idle chatter from a co-worker. She failed to recognize it was aimed at her ears. Victor swallows dryly and clears his throat.
What book is that you're reading? I've been looking to read something new.
Maria looks up from the book in surprise, the sharp look softening and then sharpening again in surprise at Victor. Maria is not used to being asked such things by men and tries to compose herself to answer.
It's a book called Mogens by the author J.P. Jacobsen, although it's a German translation since I unfortunately cannot speak Danish.
Then Maria continues to read her book. Victor tenses up in realization that this conversation will not curl up into his arms like a cat, but rather struggle and speed away like a trout on the hook. Victor coughs.
Imstande du sprachen Deutsch? Das wunderbar. I studied German in University Oxford. We should make it a habit of speaking in German when I stop by to see your employer.
Maria averts her gaze and shudders.
No, sir. I cannot actually speak in German. I merely learned it by reading. I am terribly sorry, although I believe Mr. Humphrey also speaks German, however.
Victor feels a cold sweat build up in his chest and a terrible itch on his scalp as he realizes his attempts to start a conversation are failing miserably.
So that book, it's good?
Oh, I don't know. What does it mean to call art good? I like it because it feels like I'm being transported away to another place when I read it.
Oh, so it's a storybook, like a fairy tale?
Well, no and yes. It's certainly as immersive as a fairy tale, but I don't think this book quite qualifies.
Well, tell me some of the story. It sounds intriguing.
Maria relaxes slightly, lost now in the story she is reading.
Well, the story is about a city that becomes plagued, and how the villagers stray further and further away from God until a man tells a story where Jesus tears himself off of the cross and rejects man.
Maria cringed, feeling like she hadn't explained the story well. Victor was unnerved by the story, but the mention of the cross, and Jesus reminded him about the crucifix in his pocket.
That sounds rather fascinating. Perhaps I will have to pick that book up when I'm able. Actually, though, I wanted to talk to you because I recognized you from the funeral yesterday.
Oh, you did? I'm afraid I don't remember seeing you. Did we speak?
No. Well, not for long, anyways. I just saw that you dropped this and wanted to return it to you, and luckily your employer was kind enough to tell me your name and where to find you.
Victor takes the crucifix out of his pocket and presents it.
Oh, sir, I'm afraid I don't know that item. I'm not very religious, and except for a rosary and Bible that were given to me by my grandmother that I keep in my room, I don't own any relics like that. I'll admit I rarely go to church these days. I only went to the funeral because Samuel used to let me send messages home on his telegraph machine. The men in this office are really touchy with it.
No, I am certain this is yours. I saw it fall out of your clutch.
But sir, I don't own a clutch. Maybe it was another woman?
No, it was... You see... Okay. Well, actually, it's not yours. It's mine. I'd heard from your employer that you had started losing your faith, so I was hoping to give this to you and invite you to come to Mass with me tomorrow. It'll be a slow day and we'll have lots of time to talk about that book and German.
Maria becomes frightfully nervous at what Victor has just said.
Mr. Humphrey has spoken to you of me, to say I'm losing my faith. How did he obtain this detail unknown even to me? I fear to think I'm behaving so poorly amongst others that I would betray such a fable as my innermost life.
Victor becomes frightfully nervous as well.
No. Nothing of the sort, I swear to you. I promise it was nothing but a polite capital exchange of pleasantries between two gentlemen. I fear I have garbled my words and offended you. Please forgive me, dear Maria Isabel.
It's all right. I'm sorry that I took it so seriously. I prefer not to be called Isabel except by my family, I'm afraid.
Maria takes a second to pass through what Victor has said and realizes he is offering to take her out for leisure. She nervously adds,
And about your offer, I'm afraid I must decline, though it sounds wonderful. I'm not much for church-going, and tomorrow I have requested a day off to hear Emile Barnett give a lecture on perspectivism and the French legal reforms.
Well, that sounds absolutely splendid. I'll have to accompany you. For I must admit, I am not one for church-goings either. I merely wish to assure you of my intentions. I'll send for you. I'll ask your employer where you stay so you need not trouble yourself.
Maria hesitates, not wanting to reject the offer. She has her heart set on going alone so that she can ask the intellectual questions which have been burning in her mind since youth. Realizing that Victor is intent on joining her, however, she nods slowly.
Okay, I'll be happy to see you accompany me. Mister?
Victor. Just Victor. No need to bother with the social hierarchies between two friends, eh?
Yes. Well, I have to get back to my job, Victor. I have 7 more letters to write today, and I've wasted enough time as is.
Victor leans down to kiss Maria's hand. Maria becoming rather like a sculpture, pale and motionless.
Well, tomorrow, my dear, I will see you.
With that, Victor leaves the room, and we must now follow him. He walks down the carpeted hall, and as he does, Bernice and Vincent arrive at last. Victor makes a quick wish that Humphrey has finished things up with his secretary, and makes a quick hello to buy his friend some time.
Madame Bernice, it is so wonderful to see you. I trust you've been well.
Oh, yes, Victor. Quite well. In fact, me and Vincent just met the most interesting man from the Philippine Islands and had coffee with him on the way here. My word, you wouldn't know that the Philippines is in the Orient. They speak and behave just like Europeans. The man even gave me some of the Spanish money they use there as a keepsake. Oh, Victor, I would love to visit their country sometime. And he was French too. On his father's side. Oh, wasn't he, Vincent?
Yes, Grandma thought it was quite incredible.
Victor smiles at Vincent, shaking his hand firmly.
Hello, young master. Why, it seems like just yesterday you were only knee-high and I was in university. How are your studies?
I've just recently graduated from university myself.
Victor shakes Vincent's hand with even more excitement.
Ah, that's wonderful to hear. Top marks, I assume.
Well, more like middling marks.
It's because he was too focused on making friends and not enough on his studies.
Oh, that's no issue, Vincent. You're a well-raised young man from a good family. You'll be all right, I'm sure. A good man has never been kept from his proper place, on the account of a low mark here and there. Now, I must be off. I have some rather important business to attend to. And I've dwelt here too long already.
Bernice and Vincent say their goodbyes, and we follow Vincent out the door. We're following Vincent as he leaves his grandmother and gets onto a cable car, and soon after, Victor comes following. Victor did all he could to keep Bernice occupied. He even doubled back to Humphrey's office by cutting through one of the larger rooms, knocked their secret knock on the door, and absconded before Bernice could find him there. He saved his friend the indignity of having to tell the truth to his wife, and Victor was happy to do it after all. Stand a little further away from me, won't you? People will think we're an item, with how close you're sticking to me. There, stand on the other side of Victor. He won't notice you. Now, Victor's coachman opens the door for him, and Victor gets in the coach, ready to be taken back to his home on Nob Hill, built by his late father and mother. Victor had been born back east, where his family was rich off of tobacco money from the colonial days, and had been sent to Harvard and then Oxford for his education. While he was in England, his parents had taken a steamboat down from Chicago to New Orleans, and the boat sank. Both his father and mother drowned, and Victor had returned to America to take over their affairs. Victor met Humphrey at this time, and the older man had taken Victor under his wing. Not many older men could be trusted to guide a young grieving man, much less a young grieving man who now owned a house in San Francisco, Windsor, Vermont, a vineyard in wine country, and about $200,000 in both cash and bonds, and stock options so vast that Victor needed an accountant just to keep track. Victor had grieved, but hadn't been very sad in all honesty. He had been sent off to live at a boarding school for most of his childhood, and hadn't been very close with his parents. Now he lived off of a trust on his inheritance, a remainder to be given to him only if he married and had children, as per his father's will. Victor had taken that aspect with about the same level of apathy as he did towards his parents' deaths. He didn't live luxuriously enough to need more than his sizable trust, and he had his fun. Now Victor is fishing the crucifix out of his pocket mind on the girl Maria. Victor felt embarrassed, thinking about how he had rushed into things and practically forced Maria to accept his invitation to join her. Still, he wanted to win the bet, and he had started to find Maria somewhat charming, although she was still rather dreadful in ways that Victor hadn't expected. Victor thought of that story, Mogan's, and looked around at the city as his coach rode back to his home on the cobbled street, cast over by long afternoon shadows. He thought about whether the city was like the village Maria had told him about, plagued and far from God. Victor didn't think so. He didn't think San Francisco was particularly vile, nor outstanding in its greed the way that Humphrey sometimes did. Even as he cut through the Tenderloin, where many tramps warmed themselves by fires near the street, Victor had nothing but a deep, actionless compassion towards them. Victor is the kind of man who would gladly give his wealth away to the poor, but has been taught well by men like Humphrey to avert his eyes from such things.
If I can't help them, looking at them will only create a weight I cannot be rid of.
Victor looks closely at the crucifix. Victor wasn't a particularly devout Christian. He was raised Protestant, but met Bernice when he started going to a Catholic congregation after he came to live in the city. Bernice had been like a surrogate mother to him, and eventually, when he introduced her to Humphrey, it was like he had found new parents. Victor looks up at Mount Shasta in the far-off distance, and he thinks of stories he's heard of the ancient race of men who are rumored to live inside of it. Men who wear helmets with horns, and people who look like lizards and cats, according to books written by men who claim that the local Indian tribes told it to them.
Such utter rubbish.
Not one to be swayed by tall tales nor by scripture. Victor tosses the crucifix out into the street, out of the coach window.
One of the poor will probably find it and buy dinner with it.
Victor has always been good at reassuring himself. Still, Victor thinks more and more about his conversation with Maria and begins to imagine things. He imagines a great, mighty desert he is walking to, with Maria standing at the end with arms outstretched. Victor, though he has just met Maria, imagines himself running towards her, tears streaming in his eyes as he reaches out to touch her, and she vanishes. Then out of the ground, a great mighty cross rises, and Victor is bound to it. Victor imagines his flesh burning under the hot desert sun with such vividness that he begins to unbutton his shirt at the collar and loosen his cravat. Finally, the coach driver arrives at Victor's house, and Victor steps down and out of the coach. He wonders what it's going to be like tomorrow when he goes out with Maria, and he shudders. A looming mansion of angled wood and steeply pitched roofs, with a spacious garden of trees and fountains. Enough land to ride horses in, and Victor is still unmoved. As he approaches, the grand mahogany door is opened by the help, and Victor retreats into his study to have a glass of brandy.
Maria Isabel Santa Clara. Why do I still have you on my mind? Could it be that No. I'm just getting too caught up in this game.
Now we must leave Victor to wallow in his self-imposed melancholy and shame, and retire for the evening that quickly approaches. Let's leave Victor to his wallowing and return to Bernice and Humphrey. Humphrey is sorting his affairs before he calls quits for today, and Bernice waits patiently for him on a chair in his office. Elise is there with them, under the premise of helping Mr. Humphrey, but really because she doesn't want to surrender her illicit lover back to his wife. The three of them sit awkwardly and hesitantly before Humphrey breaks the silence.
Sweetheart, I am afraid I will be quite busier tomorrow than we supposed. Today I met with George, and he's been most insistent that I accompany him while he is in the city. He sent a message a little after you arrived, asking if I might join him for golfing.
Well, naturally. I can only wish that you do enjoy that game. Although, I think if you want to share a truly worthwhile moment with George, you too should visit St. Mary's Cathedral on Grant, California. It is more enriching to the soul to embrace the Lord's company and to waste idle time on such trivial pursuits as getting a ball in a hole.
Bernice, my love, that is why women are not permitted to play golf. Your kind cannot understand the intricacies of such a sport. I'm afraid George and I are not quite suited to visit St. Mary's, however. You and I shall join him for oysters by the pier tomorrow night, and perhaps then you may try to convince us to attend the night mass with you.
Elise cannot resist the urge to outshine Bernice.
Well, Mr. Humphrey, I've now many times sat in on a game of golf at university, and I for one think it is a marvellous game.
Mr. Humphrey stifles a look of embarrassment. Bernice glances at Elise.
My dear, now which university do you go to?
Stanford.
Elise feels some pride in her answer, herself being one of the 500 women currently enrolled.
Ah, that's all right, dear. There is no shame in getting a local education. Perhaps you'll be able to transfer out with high enough marks.
Humphrey catches his wife before Elise can explode in anger at her snobbery.
Dearest, not all of us were so lucky as to have attended the Sorbonne. Be kinder to Elise.
I meant nothing of the sort. I merely wished to congratulate your secretary for pursuing an education. Many girls are content to depend on a man for their livelihood. But the new century quickly approaches. Soon, women may need to take account of their own lives, and perhaps we will even vote for the president someday.
Yes, dear, and they will also fly those marvelous Zeppelins being built in Germany to the moon, and the English empire will fall to a Hindustani yogi. Come now, Bernice. Please do not fill my employee's head with such rubbish.
Elise feels a sting in her ribs, hearing Humphrey designate her merely as his employee. Humphrey finishes sorting his papers and piles them into a large leather briefcase. Bernice and Humphrey walk out, arm in arm, through the door as Elise finishes her own paperwork by herself. The new day arrives, and Humphrey is awoken to all of his aches and pains. He leaves his wife in her bed and wanders into his home office. He has a rather quaint abode on Lombard Street, arranged in a diagonal ascent among the other houses. Each day is a struggle up and down the steep street, so much so that Humphrey usually hires a coachman. Today, he's not feeling very well, and downs a thumb of whiskey and a laudanum tablet. He's not in the best spirits, and that's why he has to get them bottled. Usually he drinks brandy, but today he drinks whiskey. He rubs his eyes and checks his pocket watch, winding it up as he does. with very little time to spare if he wants to meet George at the putting green. So Humphrey leaves after getting dressed in pastels with a flat cap, without waking Bernice. Humphrey arrives at the golf lawn. George walks up to greet him.
Ah, Humphrey. I was worried that you wouldn't be able to make it. This golfing field is rather grand, don't you think?
Yes, rather grand, and so far into the town that we have begun to inch towards Sacramento. And George, what is that ridiculous display you are wearing? Have you not been golfing before?
George stands before Humphrey in a black blazer and tweed pants, with a cravat and a top hat. He blushes rather severely.
Well, I had thought that after your reaction to my choice of accessories yesterday, that you would be happy to see that I'd adopted the costume of our class and race.
Yesterday I was rightly aghast about that deplorable Jesuit display that you cobbled together, the beard you still wear, and the garish cross. Now you show up to a game of golf as though it were an engagement at the town hall. Honestly, George, can't you do anything right?
George frowns.
Perhaps I can't, my dear friend. Oh, and that reminds me, I forgot that item on your desk. Will you be so kind as to have it sent to me?
Oh, that won't be possible, I'm afraid.
Why is that?
Why the sudden uproar? And anyways, because I gave it to Victor, he saw it and asked for it, and I was under the impression you had left it on purpose.
Humphrey, that item was gifted to me by an exceptional old lady who was grandmother to a friend I made in Riverside. The old lady has passed away now. I only began wearing that cross as a memento of her kindness, and now you've given it away to another. We must call upon Victor at once and ask him to return it to me.
Not possible.
Not possible? How do you mean not possible? Humphrey, explain at once.
He has almost definitely given it to an employee of mine. You see, we're operating a kind of game, you see.
Game? What kind of game? With my property, I might add.
Settle down, George. It's only a gaudy piece of jewellery, a bit of rubbish given value by your foolish sentimentality. If you had a woman to keep you busy, you would never be agonizing in this way over a ruddy cross. However, if you must know, I have made a bet with Victor that he will not be able to obtain the affection of one of my most serious employees. Victor had the plan to introduce himself using your item, and I can imagine what he planned. Now we will have to go door-to-door knocking, since I predict that the lovely Maria Isabel is unlikely to have kept it.
How do you know? Humphrey, I really must implore you to understand the seriousness of this matter.
Serious only in your mind, George. Now let's play golf.
George, unable to get through to Humphrey, accepts the loss with great sorrow and begins to play against Humphrey. The two are downright dreadful at the game, George being slightly better, all the while Humphrey utters his aphorisms to distract George.
Oh, come now, dear chap, you bend your knees too much when you swing. That's why your shots keep missing.
Finally, George hits the ball and makes a hole-in-one. George begins to jump and celebrate. Humphrey chuckles.
Why do you still laugh at me, Humphrey? I've beaten you, surely. I have watched your game, and I know you are unable to match me now.
I laugh because I am anticipating my gift.
Gift?
Yes, gift. It is customary among the gentlemen of the city that when one of them makes a hole-in-one as you have just done, that they buy their competitors expensive gifts. I have had my eye on a pair of lambskin gloves in the window of a shop near my firm. That will be a fine gift.
George grows red with anger, but calms himself.
Oh, but Humphrey, haven't you forgotten how you are now in my debt 1 gold crucifix? Surely you don't expect me to buy you those gloves. Surely you jest with me. Let's say that in accommodation with this custom, I forgive thee of thy debt. Doesn't that sound better?
You blithering coward. That necklace was cheaply made, likely a wrap or else a low carat gold. How can you think it is equivalent in price to the gloves? Perhaps if you spent more time with your mind at attention, instead of trying to be clever, you wouldn't have forgotten the bleeding necklace at my office. Now get over the damned
Humphrey's voice is cut off by a sharp slap to his face, and Humphrey falls to the floor. George has done it, and he stands fuming over Humphrey.
That is enough, Humphrey. You are an ignorant, boar-headed oaf, with no thoughts to any other but yourself. When you wrote to me asking me to visit you, I was excited to see an old friend. But since I have been in your presence, I have heard nothing but judgment and bitterness out of your mouth. How your wife Bernice puts up with you, I have no imaginations to, but she must definitely be some kind of saint. You will have to offer her my apologies, because I can no longer sit in your company, and will not be joining you tonight for oysters.
With that, George walks away back to the rest building. Humphrey sits on the turf, rubbing his jaw, thoughts full of confusion. George had always been timid, but Humphrey could now remember that he had never been spineless. Humphrey has pushed his friend too far, thinking that he was helping. Now his friend has rejected him and left, and Humphrey prepares himself to leave. Now it's past midday, and Victor is waiting in his coach for Maria outside of her flat. Maria comes outside wearing a simple dress and a blanket around her shoulders. At the firm she had seemed very much like a European woman, and now, despite her fair hair and bright eyes, she looked rather like a little abuela on her way to church. Victor, full of nerves and just a bit of excitement, steps out to open the door to the coach for Maria himself. Though he had started on this as a bet, Victor was beginning to remember the way his mother had told him to treat a lady one is out on the town with, Maria living in the town, of course. The same city where earlier we attended Samuel's funeral, San Leandro it was called. The same as the church.
Do you really come all the way out to the city every day just to write letters for Humphrey?
Yes, sir. I sometimes stay at the boarding house closer to the firm, but I prefer living in the town. It's quieter and I have trouble with noise.
Trouble? Trouble how?
It angers me, sir.
Please, Maria, call me Victor as I asked you to. And how is that? Angered by noise? Why, it's only noise.
Yes, Victor, but for some reason I cannot explain. Noise makes me angry. And I don't like being angry, so I stay in the town where it's usually quiet.
But where's the passion, Maria? Where's the daring? Why? If it makes you angry, you should use that anger. You should make it into something others will have to acknowledge. If I were you...
But you're not me, Victor, are you?
Oh, I suppose not. Sorry, my love.
Please, Victor, call me Maria.
Victor had told the coachman to take the longest way around to the lecture hall, which was in the Tenderloin, so that he and Maria could have a long conversation, and now Victor is beginning to regret his careful planning. Victor has started feeling some admiration for Maria, but he cannot bring himself to impose on her. The way he knows might impress her. He's not even sure it would impress her now.
Well, did you finish that book?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Oh? It didn't seem very long. I'm sure I could read it in about an hour at most.
Well, it's not that I can't read fast, Victor. It's just that I prefer to read slow.
Why on earth is that, Maria? Doesn't your mind get bored lingering on one book for so long?
Well, no, actually. I find that reading slowly lets me notice more about the book and appreciate what the writer is doing.
Oh, ha ha ha, Maria. In my school days, we called that compensating for a poor writer. Think of Carol. He writes in such utter nonsense words, but with such skill that its meaning is clear to all who read it. If an author has to wait for you to come to the same conclusions as he has come to, he's making you do half the work.
And why shouldn't I do work, Victor? What good is the work I do for Mr. Humphrey if I can't then do that same work in my personal pursuits? Have you considered that maybe I enjoy being made to think and not condescended towards by a mind who only knows how to communicate to other schoolmen?
Victor looks out the window. He has nothing to say.
No. Maria, I didn't mean to imply that your active thought had no value. I was merely making conversation. I'm sorry. Since I've met you, I've done nothing but condescend and offend you.
Victor, I am not offended. You misunderstand. This is how I enjoy to speak. Here up north, the men all prefer women who are soft-spoken and meek. But in Mexico, we ladies are listened to just as men are listened to. I'm sorry as well.
Why should you be sorry, Maria?
Well, it's not right for me to be so irritated that you would join me. After all, I have been studying philosophical traditions that tell me to value the perspective of all others, and you've been so kind as to take me to the lecture in style and comfort. I suppose I just grown attached to the idea of going by myself. I dearly wish to tell Monsieur Barnett some ideas I have had, and hear his ideas on it in return.
Oh, Maria. Well, never mind it.
What is it, Victor?
No, it's nothing. Keep telling me of your ideas, please.
No, I must hear your opinion.
All right. Well, Maria, I hope you aren't putting your hopes into this Barnett fellow seeing you for who you are.
Why would you say that? Emile Barnett is the foremost figure in the school of perspectivism. It is his exact discipline to be open to my views and to consider them as though they were his. He has written it in his book.
Victor searches his mind for the right way to explain.
Well, Maria, it's just that.
Well, you know, men don't always write philosophy by making bare their hearts and minds. Other times, it is only a creative collection written in borrowed words. Many men who write philosophy give in to the same temptations that all men are disposed to, and I would hate to see a mind so worth preserving as yours be crushed by a foreign intellectual's desire for an easy win.
Maria folds her arms.
You don't know a word you're talking about. I know this man. I've read his words. I've heard his words touch my soul.
And he has never heard yours. To him, you will be just another face. A beautiful face, it must be said, but a face nonetheless.
Enough. I won't listen to you say these things.
The two passengers quietly sit until the coach arrives at the lecture hall. Victor opens the door.
I'll stay with the coach until the driver finds a place to keep the horses, and I'll join you shortly. Enjoy yourself, Maria.
Maria wordlessly gets out of the coach and walks into the lecture hall. The coach trots around the block and finds a quiet stretch of road to stop at. Victor presses a $1 note into the driver's hand as a gratuity and walks back to the lecture hall. In the lecture hall, Victor catches Maria in deep conversation with two men, all three nodding and engaged with the other. Victor walks up to the table Maria sits at bemused, as Maria pours one man a drink.
And what's the conversation about now, my friends?
Maria rolls her eyes and looks at Victor, annoyed.
Victor, they don't speak English. They only speak Polish.
Oh, I wasn't aware you could speak Polish.
I can't, but through the power of perspective, I am observing their conversation take place and contributing my reactions.
Victor's glance narrows.
Are you sure, Maria? Or is it that these men are accommodating you because you've bought them a bottle of vodka?
Maria's fists clench.
Victor, I told you to stop being so restrictive. We think freely here. Not like the stuffy establishments you obtained your education at.
Maria has clearly been drinking with the men, and Victor is made bashful by her comments. Victor desires to go, but feeling a duty to watch over Maria, stays and takes a seat beside her. Now the guest of honor, Emile Barnett, steps out onto the podium and is announced by the master of ceremonies. All turn their attention to the man. Barnet speaks in English, but Victor hears it as a drone of endless concepts and rejections, only hearing a few lines of the actual speech, where Barnet begins quoting another thinker, something he does quite often.
Much perversion, in particular instances, may undoubtedly still occur upon the subject from misconception or bad intention. But we are once again at liberty to ask, what is proper and expedient? The subject may again be viewed without reference to external considerations. Rulers may again act according to conviction, and place their honor in the general weal. No one can say as much of the time that is past. When the code broke into Germany and ate in further and further like a cancer, there was no mention of its intrinsic merits, scarcely here and there in empty phrases. Extraneous motives, wholly foreign to the proper value of the code, determined everything, a state of things flagitious in itself, independently of the consideration that the object in view was the most pernicious of all objects. Until now, therefore, it was fruitless to speak upon the subject. Those who, during this period, did speak upon it, were partly advocates of the bad cause from interested motives, partly, with inconceivable simplicity, stultified by it. Most of them merely assisted in the undertaking as practical men, without adopting an opinion of their own. Some few voices, well meriting attention, were raised, rebuking and warning. Others, making signs and indicating, but none with any hope of success. That once again, a diversity of opinions may exist. That once again, the decision can be a subject of dispute is one of the blessings which God has vouchsafed to us. For only from this diversity can a living and firm unity proceed, the unity of conviction, for which our nature compels us to struggle in all matters of mind.
Victor rolled his eyes in boredom. Now Barnet begins to address the crowd.
Now, my friends, I would like to hear from you. Will you share writing and stories with me, so I may have your perspective to carry back to Paris with me?
Yes, and so he can publish it as his own writings.
Barnet begins to walk to each table so that the guests may speak to him. Many begin to read poorly written poetry or crackpot theories, Barnet treating them all as worth hearing. When he arrives at our table, the Polish men who are now too drunk to speak shake their heads and smile. So now Victor is asked to recite something.
Yes. Well, I think I can remember a segment from a story I had written once. If I can recall, the premise was that there were a class of men called conversationalists who were paid by the hour to make pleasant conversation with others. And there were also men paid simply to be biographers for others. It went something like, "It was Tuesday when I began to observe Emilio. Emilio is a conversationalist by trade, just as I am a biographer. We both live in this small village. I must not speak too much of myself, except to establish why I have started, for the book is about the conversationalist Emilio. I am Humphrey de la Croix. I am a biographer from Switzerland who moved to this village not too long ago. The details are not important, but judging by this aside, I must move on. The story is getting quite encumbered. Emilio is as I write, speaking to the butcher Randolph, and I do not have enough notes yet to record what is being said. I will describe. Emilio is an excellent conversationalist, the best I have seen. Most conversationalists take your words and spit them at you, but Emilio, he really does something rather grand. He seems to know just about the letter of every topic. He really talks, this Emilio. Most conversationalists don't ever just talk. I've seen some good conversationalists in Paris and Lisbon, but Emilio Rodriguez surpasses them all. Just now, he has asked the butcher a pertinent question about the casings of the sausages that the butcher had overlooked, but in such a way so carefully as to make it appear as a rare slip from a great master butcher. Now I am quite able to write, as I hear. Emilio is doing the most wonderful of dissertations. Oh, now he has gotten lost in what he is saying. Now he is panicked, saying, Emilio is not my true name. I no longer remember it. I have greeted the worst of men in friendly gait, and answered not an uncontent mistress late.
Mad, I tell you, I am not you nor the other. I only pretend to be my brother for most. Why, just last night I heard myself bored with my host, that trot from down the Barber Street, and singing back her words as though her mouth was a piano on which keys composed my clever thoughts. And this, a trot. I am too clever. The clever not mine to surrender, but stolen from all of you, and you know it too. Oh, I cannot even bear to read the wretched things quoted to me in the many biographies, of which I'm often the voice of others' clarity or repose, or else a whelp so stupid he had to be set straight. I do this for an hourly rate. This biographer writing me now, I have read his work, and it is quite good, except Martin Kunst is better. Kunst writes with higher attention and less asides. This is simply not true, my good reader, for Kunst is a simple-minded barbarian for which fire was only surpassed by his discovery of the written page. Think how he butchered Leopold von Potsky's clear and well-balanced sentiments into prescription and finger-wagging. Then Emilio is saying now, I no longer remember who I stand as or for or toward. I am in every respect unmoored. O God, save my heart, protect my soul. I cannot do this any longer. I am finished. Now Emilio has fallen face first into his creamed spinach he had been eating. We were sat at a table, you see. Oh, it appears to be that Emilio has died. Sudden stroke, poor bloke. Now who will pay my fee?
Now Victor is laughing and in good spirits, and Barnett is looking rather tired. He turns to Maria and kisses her hand. Maria grows flushed, and Victor grows irritated.
Now what is your offering, my beautiful flower?
Maria fights back the bashfulness and takes out a small notebook from her persons, skipping to a page in the middle, and begins her own story.
There was a man once, Gershe. You won't remember him. This was long ago. It started with a word. Many love Gershe, but love is weak when fear is strong. This was my friend Gershe. I was there until the end. With his mother, I saw our friends forsake him. They all ran away. Gershe had loved all, and love had been not lost on him. It had been me and Cephas. Cephas told by Gershe in command, You will deny me 3 times before the cry of the cock. So weeping Cephas thrice denied our Lord as the accusers surrounded him, then fleeing. Gershe did not cease loving Cephas, yet love is weak when hate is strong. Hated was Gershe by the Zealots, the Judeans, for he was a Galilean. Those that had come from Galilee seldom could teach, for they were far too Greek, yet not in the way the Romans favored. So they murdered our Savior. Gershe had lived and wept among us. He befriended even the tax-collecting rats. Gershe strayed not from houses beset by plague, only praying to his Father to be spared, so he may visit others. Gershe spoke in stories which gave fret to all of our nerves, how that long-haired Galilean put words to the hatred shown by the Zealots. Now I hear that it is said that Gershe was born in Bethlehem. They cannot hear Jesus' words unless he be their Messiah or prophet, when he was our friend. They said kings are born in Bethlehem, but Gershe no king. No golden wreath adorned his crown after the crux was taken down, only a band of thorns. Tried to love the Romans, and Gershe was scorned to be crucified. I was there when Gershe drew his last breath, then died. Now I hear you say that my friend Gershe rose? Well, tell that to his weeping mother, who carried his body into the tomb. You say he returned to us, but that was only our wishes, our self-made fables to remember a better day. I cannot sit and listen as you say. Since you have believed such fables, let me give another, this being my own, and I was beloved by him. This being as it happened when Gershe was on Golgotha, raised high towards the ever-stretching sky, the nails in his hands tore through, and he had to be tied with ropes. The Romans had been making sport of torturing him, for he was only a Galilean. Gershe cried to those who now had forsaken him, and one said, Get down from thy cross. Now Gershe cried to the nowhere beyond the clouds, Why hast thou forsaken me? So the liar himself appeared to Gershe, among the crowd though they saw him not, and said, Drink, O Gershe of Ambrosia. I shall take the gar rag, I have lived long enough to do this for thee, for surely thou knowest I, Ulysses. Jesu could not take the cup, but Ulysses poured it out for him, making it seem by great acts of trickery that he were Jesu and Jesu he. Jesu now free, and Ulysses said, Thou must go now to see the fruits of thy suffering, a time when the Roman cult has become thy face. So Jesu now in Italy, in the time of the Borgias, marveling at what he did see, the buildings and holy shrines, but sad to see that what he had left in Jerusalem could be found in Florence, still seeing the sick sent away and innocent blood shed in torrents. Jesu took an account of what others preached in his name, found only the same as he had heard from the Pharisees. Many names he found attached to his life who he had no knowledge of. This Saul, who became Paul, who spoke so earnestly in his name to teach the clinging Jesu hated in others, the only thing hated by Jesu. Now Jesu realized things had only become worse, though they practiced in his name. Then Jesu learned of the conquests. He learned how the empire took new names to pillage his home. Jesu marched upon the Pope to demand an accounting. Jesu found the Pope among others who whispered into his ear, saying, Here comes that Semite Jesu to cast more division with his heathen talk. Let us burn him. Your honor, he questions, when you are the pontificate of God. The Pope allowed Jesu to speak, saying, What troubles thee, Jesu? So spoke our Jesu, saying, Tear down this cross, get on thy feet. I have not appointed thee nor thy book. I am not but in 1/10 of its sayings, only half of them known by me. This man called Jesus is not but a fiction, and this kingdom not my own. You have created this as I lay rotting to sanction robbing, swindling, pilfering of mines as well as coffers. Knowing this, I should think I would have taken Satan's offer. For if this be the way of kingdoms dressed in my name, how I should have been like a king then. Then man is not fit to be saved. Nay, the poor and wretched I still wish to gather, to enact some semblance of decency rather. For the kingdom makers I wish only to see taken away. I wish to dwell in paradise now. So angered was the Pope, and had Jesu put to the crux once more. Sat all of Rome to watch Christ be crucified yet again, though now again the poor gathered and wept to see the death of their friend. But now some of them laughed too. They had only loved Jesu for his attention. Now Jesu could weep in neither direction. Minerva saying, Why do you suffer this a second time? You are already with your Father in your remembrance of him, so why embrace this humiliation? Why not dwell in paradise? Why continue this lamentation to the men who came before you and will come after you, O Jesu? Jesu saying, They took the word and made it into the sword. They burned my Father's house to make a mockery in its stead. It is finished, what is left? Minerva saying, I will keep you and deliver you from this. I will bring you back to the time of your fall. Return to Eden now. The fruit has taught you this lesson. So Jesu our friend was taken to Eden to live as Adam with Eve. Yet Jesu could not look upon Eve in her naked innocence. Jesu had been sinless, but he had seen sin and she had not seen sin. Jesu with the power to forgive could not hate Eve for this, and could not will himself away from his view of her. So Satan came to Jesu. Satan said to Jesu, Jesu, do not weep, thy hour is at hand, for she is woman and thou is man, take her in thy stead. Do not sin by giving her the fruit of shame from that tree there. She needs not know what good you make use of her, for with knowledge she shall cover up, and thou'll be like thou had been made unto being in Jerusalem. What glorious blessings you have found. Jesu took his leave of Satan, offering the fruit not unto Eve as Satan had desired in his tricks, leaving Eve in Eden and journeying to Canaan. There Jesus stayed for a long time, becoming known by the Canaanites, being a friend to them and telling his stories. Then Jesu died and was buried, and Eve stayed in Eden, and man never fell.
Victor is now absolutely aghast at the story that Maria has just told. Barnet is grinning ear to ear.
My dear, we must speak more after the lecture is over. There is something truly magnificent about that story you have just told me.
Maria blushes.
Really? Oh no, monsieur, you're too kind. I was only copying another book I was reading.
What is art except imperfect copying?
Well, yes, I'm sure you believe that.
What was that, sir?
Nothing. I didn't say anything.
Well, young lady, you simply must stay afterwards and join me. We can talk about your story.
Maria glances at Victor and then back at Barnett.
Oh, but monsieur, I came here with this man Victor, and I couldn't leave him.
Oh, then by all means bring him. He won't get in the way. I promise.
There is a tone of malevolence in Barnett's voice, and Victor can't tell if it's just his imagination.
Oh, sure. I guess I can stay a while. I had no plans tonight.
So it's settled. After the lecture, I will see you and Victor. Now, my love, what is your name?
Maria grows bashful again.
Isabel, monsieur. You may call me Isabel.
Isabel, I shall see you later.
Then Barnett walks to another table. Now, after a while of us waiting, Maria Isabel has drank another glass of vodka, nervous as an expectant husband whose wife is giving birth. And Victor is unimpressed with the man Barnett. Barnett now returns to our table and extends a hand to Maria.
Now, Isabel, let us go.
Victor follows the two into the area behind the podium, a play stage for certain events, hidden behind a large velvet curtain. Barnett goes to the stove in the back corner and takes a long metal smoking pipe from the coals.
I hope you two don't mind. I just need to relax a little.
Victor grows wearier as Barnett produces a small amount of opium from his pocket, placing it in the pipe, growing protective as Barnett offers it to Maria.
Now, dear Isabel, will you partake with me? I have trouble explaining myself to a sober mind.
Absolutely not. Maria, this man is trying to take advantage of you.
Oh, does he speak for you then?
No, monsieur. It's just I've never smoked opium before.
And you shan't while I'm accompanying you, Maria. Please do not be swayed by this devil.
Oh, bugger off, will you? She said you don't speak for her. And besides, you are only engaging in some indecent moral outrage. Don't you drink, my good sir, or do you smoke tobacco? It is not much different. I believe it was Montaigne who said, "Men of intelligence notice more things and view them more carefully, but they selectively interpret them. And to establish and substantiate their interpretation, they cannot refrain from altering the facts a little. They never present things just as they are, but twist and disguise them to conform to the point of view from which they have seen them. And to gain credence for their opinion and make it attractive, they do not mind adding something of their own or extending and amplifying."
That is far beyond the point, and you know it, sir. The woman is drunk, and beyond drunk, she has a schoolgirl crush on you that you have plainly noticed since laying your filthy eyes upon her.
Victor, enough. I am a grown woman who makes my own decisions, and I will take Monsieur Barnett up on his offer. It is only a friendly gesture, and you are too stuck in your ways to see. Leave us.
Victor, not wanting to anger Maria any more, walks out behind the curtain to wait for her.
Now that the hypocrite is gone, why don't we relax a little, Isabel?
Isabel nervously takes the pipe and takes a draw of the opium, becoming quickly tired and dreamy.
Oh, this feeling is just marvelous, monsieur. I understand now. I understand everything you've been saying. I'm so happy. It feels like a dream I'm having, and why are you putting your hand there, monsieur?
Barnett forces a kiss upon Maria. Only a few moments as Maria pushes him off and screams,
"Victor!"
Victor rushes into the room without any delay, grabbing Maria away from Barnett as Barnett pleads.
No, Isabel, you are only feeling the hesitation one feels before true discovery. Don't run away now.
Victor kicks Barnett in the groin, and Barnett sprawls down in pain. Then Victor spits at the ground.
Enough of this. Maria, I'll take you home now.
On the ride back to her flat, Maria is quiet, and Victor can't stop fretting over her. Even the coach driver asked what the matter was with her when they returned to him, and Victor pressed another $1 note into his hand, to be discreet. When they arrive, Victor carries Maria up into her room and into her bed, leaving her dressed but taking off her shoes and coat. Victor turns to leave, and Maria speaks.
No, Victor, wait.
Yes?
I want you to take this.
Maria takes out the rosary her grandmother gave her from the bedside dresser and places it in Victor's hand.
Oh, but Maria, I couldn't.
You must, Victor. I can't look at it anymore after tonight. I've lost my faith.
Maria.
Take it, Victor, and I'm sorry I didn't listen to you.
Victor pockets the rosary and leaves Maria to sleep off the opium. The next day, Victor arrives at Humphrey's office early. He closes the door behind him.
Oh, Victor, and how did it go with my employee? The girl you said had a funny face. Are you ready to concede defeat?
Actually, Humphrey, I want to call the bet off. I don't feel right about it anymore.
I see, so you'd rather play the role of a coward than admit defeat? I must admit, this is low, Victor.
No, you old fool. I would have won our bet. I just no longer feel good about it.
Oh, sure, that's just what a coward would say.
Victor, out of frustration, produces the rosary.
What's this, Victor? Are you becoming religious now?
No, Humphrey. The bet was for me to obtain an item of her affection. And, well, here it is. I just no longer want to play games with that poor girl's heart.
Humphrey is amazed.
Oh, well, in that case, congratulations are in order. I don't understand, though. Why give up on the bet just as you have won it?
Because others are not a means by which to obtain an end, but an end in themselves. I had no right to intrude in Maria's life, and I worry that my intrusion inspired dramatic consequences that I wish to spare her from in the future.
Humphrey, still feeling George's slap, and now being told such wisdom by his junior, begins to have a change of heart.
You're right, Victor.
And another thing, you're always trying to have the last word. I'm sorry, did you say I'm right?
Yes, Victor, you're simply right, I'm afraid. I have been a great fool all these years, and I've almost thrown away the love of a good woman by means of deception. The other day made me realize how easily Bernice might discover my infidelity and how it would become a wound I fear might kill her. So I've decided now, and in the company of my closest friend, to end my affair with Elise. I will arrange to have her transferred to another firm, and just so that she is not inconvenienced in the least. It is what is fair and just.
Well, that's remarkably noble of you, my friend.
And I will tell Bernice about my affair and beg her forgiveness as a true man should.
Oh, that's splendid, Humphrey. Well, I hope that she finds the goodness in her heart I know exists and forgives you without any bitterness.
Victor turns happily and leaves Humphrey. However, unbeknownst to them, Elise has been listening through the keyhole in the door. Elise, angered and full of wounded pride, conspires now to get her revenge on Mr. Humphrey. Maria, having woken up late and sick from the spirits and opium, rushed to work. However, she's only now arriving and feels the dreadful panic that Mr. Humphrey will have her fired for tardiness. Maria rushes up to Humphrey's office and Elise stops her.
What do you want, Maria?
I need to see Mr. Humphrey. I was taken rather ill this morning and couldn't make it on time, and I want to assure him that I will not be making this a habit.
He's not taking visitors right now. He's been locked up in there since Mr. Victor came to see him.
Oh, Victor was here?
Maria found herself asking without understanding why.
Yes, he came to discuss a bet with Mr. Humphrey, something about a woman.
Oh, and what was this bet, if you'd be kind enough to tell me?
Now Elise realized her opportunity to sow mischief and grinned wickedly.
Well, Mr. Victor wanted Mr. Humphrey to know that he had won. They had made a bet that Mr. Victor was to obtain the personal item of some funny-faced letter writer to show he got into her bed. A rosary, it looked like. Victor's words, not mine.
Maria's constitution failed her, and she became rather gloomy.
Oh, a bet. To seduce a woman?
Yes, that was what it seemed to me. I'd pity the poor foolish girl that lets herself fall for that Mr. Victor. He's nothing but a scoundrel.
No, he's not. You have no idea.
Maria catches herself and stops.
Thank you, Elise. I appreciate you telling me all of this. Please let Mr. Humphrey know I'll be absent today. I'm not feeling well.
No problem, love. I'll make sure he hears it.
Maria walks out onto the street forlorn. Now Bernice arrives at the firm on a coach that Humphrey had sent for her, though she would have preferred to walk. Humphrey nervously extends himself out of his office to meet her at the door, and Elise takes the opportunity to put rat poison in Humphrey's drink. Bernice follows Humphrey to his office, confused as to why her husband is looking so solemn and saying nothing. She follows him into his office and closes the door behind her.
What is all of this about my love? Why have you sent for me so suddenly? Is something wrong?
Humphrey cannot stand the stress and reaches for his glass of whiskey, but he doesn't sip it, as holding the glass gives him the nerve to say what he has prepared.
My love, I love you. Do you know that?
Why, of course, my dear. These last few years have been nothing but a dream come true. I love you with all of my soul.
Yes. But dear, do you recall the book of Sirach and what it says about judgment?
Why, yes, my love. Seek not to be made a judge, unless thou have strength enough to extirpate iniquities, lest thou fear the person of the powerful, and lay a stumbling block for thy integrity. Why, what judgment must be cast now?
My love, I must admit something to you. For a year now I have been having an affair. It is over now, and soon the other woman will be gone. I beg your forgiveness. I have stumbled, but I have not strayed, my love. Please look kindly upon me.
Bernice cannot take such news calmly.
What are you saying, Humphrey? You have lied and cheated to me. You took space in my bed, while taking space in another woman's.
No, never. I never let it go further than the office.
Oh, so that's supposed to be reassuring to me. Humphrey, you fool. I do not forgive you. I could have forgiven you for anything but this. I will leave you, and I will go back to France.
Humphrey begins to cry out for Bernice as she turns to the door. He goes to walk after her, but trips on a loose rug, falling upon a drawer by his head and dying.
No, Humphrey, my love, no, what has happened?
Elise, who has been listening at the door, now becomes filled with regret and opens the door.
I'm sorry. I didn't want him to die. I was only upset.
What are you saying, you stupid girl?
The poison in his drink. It was all me.
Now Bernice looks at Elise with horror.
It was not poison that has killed him, but now you have admitted it to me. Will you kill me now to save yourself?
No! They'll never believe you. I'll say you pushed him.
Do you think investigators will not see through such an act? No, we must dispose of him before they find him, or else you will be sent to prison for a crime you were in the act of committing. Oh, poor Humphrey. I wish now that I was not so harsh on him.
The two women roll up Humphrey into the large rug that caused his demise and carry it out the door, looking to cast it into the bay with rocks to weigh it down. Victor is walking down the street not far from the firm when he sees the two women walking out with the rug. He walks over to them, full of curiosity.
What are you doing there, ladies? Redecorating?
Why, yes. Humphrey was tired of this rug and told Elise to dispose of it. And, well, I decided to help her.
Well, here, let me help. I couldn't swallow the thought of knowing that I had let two ladies struggle with such a task unaided.
No.
Victor looks at Bernice in shock.
Why is that, madame?
Well, it's because you are...
You have to go find Maria!
Why? What is the matter with Maria?
Well, she learned about your bet with Mr. Humphrey about her, because I told her. And now she's out with heartbreak on her mind.
Victor grasps his heart and falls to his knees.
No. But I had just done the right thing. I never wanted her to know, and now she knows.
Victor, you must find her quickly. Take a horse, leave some money, and go find her.
Victor, unaware that his friend of many years now resided within the rug, rushed to mount a steed, speeding down the boulevard like a San Franciscan Paul Revere to find Maria. Maria walks gloomily down to the pier, content now to throw her life away. Maria never learned to swim, so even a small amount of water might drown her. As she leans against the railing, mind made up to do it, the sailor from Cebu, Pedro, stands next to her and leans on the railing with her.
What's wrong, ma'am?
I have been played with by a man I believed he truly cared for me, only to learn his chivalry was all in service of winning a bet. Now I wish to drown myself.
Why drown yourself? You did nothing wrong.
I cannot live in this world any longer. Last night I met a great mind I have admired for some time, only to learn he is a scoundrel. I could have accepted it, for Victor, the man I speak of, defended my honor valiantly and returned me home unharmed, but now I know he didn't mean it out of care or concern.
Pedro thinks for a moment and takes Maria's hand. Maria, who didn't expect to be touched, still doesn't shrink away. Pedro's touch is like the touch one offers a younger sibling, and he looks her in her eyes.
Mom, I don't think you're thinking straight. If Victor didn't care for you, why has he done so much to show care? Men often speak wrongfully to other men. But if he treated you with decency, when there were no other eyes to see, I don't believe he sees you the way you now say. Perhaps I'll wait with you.
Perhaps. I just don't know where to go anymore.
That's the wonderful thing about life, Ineng. When you don't know where to go, there's no wrong road to take.
Now the two see Elise and Bernice carrying the carpet to the pier. Pedro recognizes Bernice and waves hello. Bernice, feeling obliged, waves back and almost drops the carpet to Elise's anger.
Madame, it's so wonderful to see you again. May I help you with that burden?
No. Why, thank you, Juan Pedro. But my companion and I are just about to dispose of this in the sea.
Well, let me help you with that part then. I wouldn't sleep well knowing I let you struggle without helping.
No! Just let us, oh dear!
Elise and Bernice succeeded in pushing the rug over the railings, but it caught on Maria's blouse and pulls her in after it. Maria screams as she falls into the water, and the two other women panic. Suddenly, Victor comes riding in on his horse, having heard Maria's screams.
Maria! Don't worry, I'll save you.
Victor stands on the horse's saddle and dives headfirst into the ocean to save Maria. However, as he lands in the water, Maria's struggling causes Victor to begin drowning as well. and now the two women are screaming in fear on the pier. Now the sailor from Cebu dives into the sea and rescues the two, pulling them to shore.
Thank you, kind sir. I thought it was my end.
No problem, Victor.
How do you know my name? Maria.
Maria, having swallowed plenty of water, is lying unconscious in the sand. Bernice and Elise watch full of worry from atop the pier, and Pedro begins to rip apart Maria's blouse and press into her chest to expel the water. After a few tense minutes, Maria turns and expels seawater from her mouth, then gasps for air. She turns and sees Victor's worried face.
Victor, you came?
Of course, Maria. I'll always come for you. I'm sorry about the bet and everything else. Please take this back from me.
Victor hands Maria the rosary, and Maria looks him in the eyes, grabbing him suddenly and kissing him.
Maria,
Victor, I'm in love with you. I know it now.
Victor looks troubled. He takes Maria's hand.
No, Maria. You're just exhilarated from the experience of nearly dying. You deserve a better man than me.
Pedro gets irritated.
Ano ba yan? Victor, before you arrived, I found this girl so heartbroken and lovesick over you that she prepared to drown herself. Then I saw you, without any self-concern, dive off of a running horse into the sea to catch her. Don't let my help make you forget all of this. Don't play the honorable man when scoundrels would take your love away.
Victor nods and looks again at Maria, who looks at him. Victor kisses Maria, and the ladies on the pier cheer. Now a constable arrives.
What's all this, then? I've received reports that two women were carrying a suspicious carpet roll down the road and tossed it into the sea.
He sees Pedro.
Does this coolie have something to do with it?
Victor stands and looks at the constable.
How dare you address my friend in such a way? I'll have you know that I am Mr. Victor, from Nob Hill, and I will not stand for such accusations of wrongdoing nor hateful names to be said about him.
Pedro stands, fearful for his freedom. The constable hesitates, but with no carpet roll in sight, and thus no evidence, he feels inclined to follow Victor's lead.
Yes, well, my apologies. I hope you people have a good day.
After that day, the disappearance of Mr. Humphrey became a topic of intrigue for about a week, and in lieu of a body to find, the police abandoned the case. Bernice, racked with guilt, returned to France to live out the rest of her days. Elise, unable to continue studying, returned to her parents in Seattle. Victor and Maria were married, and though the many years did not pass without an affair or two on each side, the two were deeply in love and lived happily ever after.